All right, let's talk about it. How can we reduce the layoffs that are coming? Eventually, if people don't take this these buyouts, they're going to do some layoffs, and there's no way we can stop or prevent it, but we can reduce it. So if you guys can hit that like and that subscribe, and then continue to follow on with this video. So how can we reduce the amount of layoffs? Is if everybody becomes a 9-5 driver. A 9-5 is, if you guys don't know what a 9-5 driver is it's a driver that only works 9.5 hours. He does not allowed to work longer than 9.5 hours. If it's 1 minute over, we're capable of filing on that day. So how can you qualify for a 9-5? To file for a 9-5, all you have to do is go over 3 times in a working week over 9-5. So if you go over 1 minute each and every single one of those days, you can file. They don't like it, but you can. So if you do file, you get paid time and a half for the hours that you worked over 9.5 hours. So as long as you work 9.5 hours and then go over that, so from the 9.5 hour mark, all that time that you go over is the time that you get paid for the 9-5 grievance. So, and eventually, for my supplemental, after your 5th one that's paid, you can have an elevated meeting. Once you have an elevated meeting, you can earn up to quadruple time when you file a grievance. Now, you're able to go over 3 times in a week, but if you can prove that if they over dispatch you by a significant amount on Thursday and Friday, or if you're a Tuesday through Saturday driver, Friday and Saturday, and you can prove that they completely over dispatched you by a significant amount, you can file on those 2 last days and get paid for it. But it has to be a significant amount. So, and that's kind of like when they implemented the spiking into the 9-5 agreements. So if we can all come together and unite and jump on the 9-5 grievance or 9-5 list, we can help reduce the amount of layoffs, because layoffs are coming. We're not going to stop that. Layoffs are coming. Anybody and everybody could qualify for a 9-5 driver. So if you have less than 5 years and you don't have your own route, it kind of sucks. So if you like, the reason why it sucks is because if you are not at least a 5-year driver and you're on a 9-5, if they move you, then you can't file. So it has to be 3 days consecutively on the same route for anybody that's not maxed out, max rate, which is 5 years. So if you're not a 5-year driver and they want to move, you go over 2 days on one route, and then the next day they move you, they have that right. It sucks, but that's just the way it works. So if you have your own route and you're less than 5-year driver, you're always on the same route. So you're capable of filing the 9-5 if you go over 3 times in that week. And if there's routes up for temp bids, take those temp bids, because then you're going to be on that route regardless, forever how long it's up for bid, for temp bid. So then you're able to file the 9-5 on a regular basis. This will help us reduce the amount of layoffs, because they're not going to want to pay grievance after grievance after grievance, because it's a lot of money. They're trying to save money. So how can they save money if they're paying you a lot of money? And then eventually, after your 5th one, you qualify for quadruple time. So any time that is after 9.5 hours, that's how much money you make. So you go from your 9.5 hours, that's how many hours. Say you go over 2 hours after 9.5 hours each day, that's 2, 4, 6 hours of time and a half. But if you're going over every single day, it becomes a decent amount of money every check. And they're not going to want to pay you that. They're not going to want you to get up to 5 and pay you quadruple time. Because eventually, once you get to the 5th one, you can be qualified for an elevated meeting, which they definitely do not want. Because eventually, once you request an elevated meeting, then you guys come to an agreement on how much you're capable of doing to make sure you're off by 9/5. And when they do that, they're not allowed to dispatch you over that amount unless the whole building is so backed up that, or so behind, that is so heavy that they have no choice but to over dispatch you that day. That's the only time they're allowed to, but they have to have justification of why they're over dispatching you. If they can't provide evidence of why they're over dispatching you, eventually you can get filed for a 9/5 and then get paid quadruple time. Great, great. So this would help us reduce the amount of layoffs. If we all come together and join the 9/5 list, we can help reduce the amount of layoffs. And majority of our brothers and sisters can continue to work, because layoffs will be coming, and they will be coming fast. And we got to be prepared for this. So if we all join the 9/5 list, I think this would help reduce the amount of layoffs, and then we wouldn't have to push out so many part-timers, because they're the ones that are going to be affected by it, not us drivers, not us feeders drivers. If you're a feeder driver, unfortunately, if you get forced back into the warehouse, you will not make driver rate. You will, for the Northern California supplemental, you get paid the inside rate. For a package car, if you get forced into the warehouse, you get driver rate. So unfortunately for the feeders, that kind of sucks for you, because that's a huge loss in wages. But like I said, it would help reduce the amount of layoffs if we all win 9/5. And 9/5, you can go home to your family, spend more time with your wife, your kids. It's a good thing. So if this was any informative to you guys, hit that like and hit that subscribe, and have a good one, man.